Yo, what is going on, everybody? It's Juan Solo here with A Squad Gaming, and welcome back to the channel. Thank you all so much for tuning in today for some more Ghost Recon Breakpoint. So in today's video, we're actually going to be going over an interview with the creative director of Ghost Recon Breakpoint, Eric Cuzane. I apologize if I pronounced that name wrong, guys. I'm terrible when it comes to names, but he goes down through a bunch of different information about Ghost Recon Breakpoint. So basically, we're going to go down through here, read this entire Q&A. If you guys want to check it out for yourselves, I will link it down in the description below. Also, real quick, before we jump into today's video, guys, huge shout out to operator Drewski for allowing me to use his gameplay here on the channel. He is an absolute legend when it comes to tactical shooters and mil-sim games, so I will link his channel down in the description below. Make sure to go check out his channel, guys. Drop him a subscribe if you don't know who he is. Like I said, he's an absolute legend, and he was actually kind enough to let me use his gameplay here on the channel. So without further ado, guys, let's jump right into the video. So the person actually giving this interview is Hayes Madsen. He is actually with Twin Infinite website, and we're going to be going down through his questions, and Eric's actually answering all of these questions from Ghost Recon Breakpoint. So the first question he actually asked, he said, with Breakpoint, do you consider it more of a continuation of what Wildlands did, or kind of more of a new experience? How did the development team view it? And Eric goes on to say, actually a new experience for sure. We wanted to bring fresh content into the game. At the same time, it is a Ghost Recon game, and we have old pillars, regular pillars of Ghost Recon. Freedom of choice, which consists of promoting the fact that this is a player that you can play however you want, stealthy or going gun blazing. Freedom of choice in terms of what types of mission I want to take. And at the same time, it's a tactical game. It's an action game, so we went to improve the feeling of being a Spec Ops and being in the shoes of a Spec Ops soldier. So that's the reason we added all of these new layers of tactical features, as well as this survival aspect, so it feels authentic. So for those of you guys out there that don't think this is going to be a Ghost Recon game with all of the other RPG aspects and stuff in the game, it's still a Ghost Recon game at its core. It just has a lot of other features that's just going to add to the playable value of the game itself. So the next question, he goes on to say, a lot of messaging so far that the Breakpoint is going to be more of a live service kind of game than Wildlands was. How are you designing it to live long after launch? And Eric goes on to say, actually, Wildlands is already quite a live game, but it was not planned as it's planned now. For instance, everything here from the start of Breakpoint, we had in mind to make the game live for a long time. For instance, even in the story we just show, I don't want to spoil anything, but the way it was built, we just show one part of the story, so after the launch we can develop new stories, but it won't be improvised. It's already a thing that we have in our mind, as well as the new features, a new class that will bring after launch all the episodes that are already a concept as we speak. So they're not going to be changing anything from their set vision that they've already put in place, which is a good thing, because when fans say they see something, you know, pre-alpha, early alpha and stuff like that, and they demand change, and they want to stick to their vision, it's good that they're sticking to their vision of Ghost Recon Breakpoint. So then he goes on to say, in terms of Ghost Recon series as a whole, where this takes place, is there any chance of seeing items or different situations pop up from other Ghost Recon games? And Eric actually goes on to say, so actually we never define when it happens. It's nowadays, so there is no connection with other games. You play as Nomad, so it is after Wildlands, and you can see what happens with your fellow teammates. Even the relationship you have with Cole Walker, you have this continuation from Wildlands, but no more than this. So he's basically trying to say that this sort of kind of takes place in its own thing, and it doesn't really have anything to relate to other Ghost Recon games. I really don't like that, because I really feel as if it should tie in with everything else. You know, maybe we'll see a Captain Scott Mitchell, maybe we'll see a Joe Ramirez or something like that make a presence in future DLC or something like that. But if he's trying to say that it's kind of on its own thing, that kind of eliminates that from happening, but who knows, only time will tell. So now moving on, he says, starting out, was Breakpoint more designed as a cooperative experience apart from a solo experience? There are some players that enjoy soloing it. How do you trend that line between the two? And Eric goes on to say this, so it's a way to design things. You can play solo, you can play co-op, and for us, it's very important that you can switch from solo to co-op without ever wasting 1 minute. So what he means is, as you keep your progression, it allows you to play with your friends whenever you want, usually in co-op games. The issue is that as soon as you play, when you progress later in the story or in the missions, it's harder to connect with your friends if they don't play for a few days. So our philosophy is that you can always play with your friends even if you have different levels of progression. So it's true that it changes the way you design the solo experience because of these constraints, but we have a story, we have many storylines, and there are numerous ways to go about it so that it allows players in co-op to even play if you have completed several missions. We have all the features of a solo game at the same time. You have the drones if you don't have teammates. We'll bring back the AI teammates after launch. So actually, if you are a solo player, you will have the right experience that fits the expectation of a solo experience, likewise in co-op. So basically, it doesn't matter how you play, whether you play solo by yourself, you play solo with AI teammates, you play co-op with three of your other buddies and stuff like that. It's all going to kind of play very similar, and you're going to get the same story aspects and everything. So I like that. I don't like it in some games where if you play solo, you just don't quite get the same experience as if you're playing in co-op. So the next question, he goes on to say, how much variation can we expect between missions? How are you trying to differentiate them? So the first thing, that is nothing to be scripted. Usually what I say is that a camp or a situation is a problem that players have to solve, but we don't know how they will do it. So it brings a lot of variety, which also depends on your personal playstyle. This was one of the biggest things that I liked with Wildlands, was just the freedom of choice. And then he goes on to say, at the same time, you'll have different tracks of storylines, which brings a lot of variety in the type of missions you can make and a lot of mysteries in terms of narrative, which you'll find out soon enough. In terms of gameplay, depending on your taste, you can play the storyline or these types of missions with other players or solo, and it will be very different. So the next one he goes on to is talking about fan feedback, which everything we saw out of E3, there's so much stuff with Ubisoft and fan feedback. So he goes on to say, it seems like with Breakpoint more than ever, fan feedback is really important to you. In the time since you've been announced Breakpoint, how has fan feedback changed anything? And then he goes on to say, actually, we are listening to everyone, but we want to keep the creative vision of the game. We know that we are an action game, a tactical game. All of this are pillars of the game itself, and we are listening, but we are keeping the direction we have for the game focused. It's very good. We meet fans very often. We know from a long time, and Ubisoft has a great ears to listen to the community and what they have to say. So even like that with the AI teammates, that was something that they revealed at launch, that the fact that there was not going to be any AI teammates, and then based around fan feedback, announced at A3 that they're going to actually bringing those back post-launch. So that's just one of the examples of Ubisoft listening to their fans when it comes to the games that they play. So next he goes on to talk about some of the tactics in Ghost Recon Breakpoint. So he says, it looks like there are more stealth options in Breakpoint. Are you trying to give players more options in terms of how they approach things than in Wildlands? And he goes on to say, actually, we have added new features to help with recon because information is key in Ghost Recon Loop. Having information on where enemies are located can make a huge difference. At the same time, for instance, the prone camo feature is a way to become invisible as a ghost. It's not science fiction. It really is how the Spec Ops use it to become invisible in nature, and you can cover yourself in mud or in snow and you can still stay on. The enemies won't notice you. It is a big game changer because it really helps and promotes the players that want to play with stealth, and it's very tactical. So me personally, when I saw that in the reveal live stream, that was probably one of the coolest things that they actually showcased, being the fact that it does not matter what terrain you're in, as long as it's not on a road or something like that, you can blend into the environment using the prone camo. So the next one, he actually kind of talks about the HUD, which is kind of a big concern from a lot of you guys right now. So Hayes goes on to say something that a lot of players seem to want, are they're going to be able to customize the HUD and kind of fine-tune things the way that they want. And Eric goes on to say, actually, it's already something we did in Wildlands, and it's something we want to keep and push further. It's always the same thing. We say we want to promote freedom of choice, so if they want to customize the HUD, they will be able to do that for any options that they see fit. For us, it's very important that if you want to remove all of the UI and play, you can. So for those of you guys out there that are worried about all of the cluttering HUD and everything that was on screen that we saw at E3, you don't have to worry about it. You can literally turn it off. You can turn specific things off that you don't want. You can customize it however you see fit. So now they actually go on to ask about the location of Breakpoint. So he says, is there a specific reason that you chose to set Breakpoint in a fictional location rather than somewhere that is actually real? And he goes on to say, actually, the main reason that we wanted to have more freedom in terms of creativity, especially since the terrain now has a big impact on your tactical decisions. The fictional place allows us to balance the game so that the terrain doesn't become a problem, but we want the experience to remain very accessible to everyone. So with the new mechanics when it comes to like moving around the map with the different terrains and stuff like that, I think that's probably one of the biggest game changers in Ghost Recon Breakpoint. I'm really happy to see them go that route, and I believe that's kind of the main reason why they picked a fictional place, because then they can kind of craft it however they see fit. So now he moves on to start talking a little bit about weapons. So he goes on to say, how are you approaching different weapons? When people get a weapon that they like, how are they going to be able to keep that weapon with them? And he goes on to say, for us, yes, we know that if you are a fan of this weapon or this one or that one, we want them to first know where the weapon is located. It's not an official mission, but it's where you as the player will set your own objective. This weapon is hidden there or kept in the armory of this camp, so it's up to you if you will attack this camp to steal the weapon or go in covert and the enemies won't know you're there. Then you can keep the weapon as long as you want, have different kinds of attachments, improve the weapon, change the attachment to have less recoil or anything. So yeah, you'll be able to keep the ones you want and customize the weapons how you see fit, and also break down and use the parts of weapons that you don't like. So for those of you guys out there that liked looking around for weapons in Ghost Recon Wildlands, it looks like we're going to have that same feature in Ghost Recon Breakpoint, as well as you're going to be able to pick up weapons from enemies and keep those weapons. Because in Ghost Recon Wildlands, when you picked up an enemy weapon and then actually went into your create a class system and changed out weapons, you would lose that weapon. It is different in Breakpoint. You actually get to keep enemy weapons that you pick up out in the open world. So then he moves on to talk about the wolves. So he says, how are you making the wolves different from all other enemies in this game? How does their AI work differently to make them feel like a unique challenge? And Eric goes on to say, for us, it was very interesting to design the AI of the wolves because here they are able to hunt you. Something that is quite original is to have enemies that when they detect you, they can hunt you down everywhere in the world. So they are able to send drones as well as helicopters, and they can follow you very, very far. So even if you were to run away from them, you will have to be smart and hide to actually get rid of them. It's not as easy as it was in Ghost Recon Wildlands. At the same time, if you feel that if you have the guts for it, you are skilled enough, you can face them and try to win. It's how you like to play. Are you good enough for it? Can you withstand your breakpoint? So then he goes on to finish the interview. He says, with such a long plan for Breakpoint, are you looking at next-gen consoles? And he goes on to say, for the moment, what we plan is to ship this game on October 4th on PS4, Xbox, and PC, and we are looking for the future, and we will tell you more afterwards. So with that being said, with next-gen consoles being right around the corner, being holiday 2020 release, I would totally expect to see some sort of a 4K or a next-gen update for previous games, similar like with Ghost Recon Wildlands got a 4K update after the Xbox One X launched. We'll probably be going to be looking with a similar thing when the next-gen consoles launch next year to optimize the game so you're going to be able to have the brand new console and obviously have it have higher specs and be able to see the game in a better light. But that is pretty much all for the interview, guys. We did get some new information here. We kind of got an inside look on how Eric actually thought about Ghost Recon Breakpoint and a little bit of new information in there. But if you guys enjoyed this, you guys are excited about all the intel that we got from E3 about Ghost Recon Breakpoint, make sure to drop a like on the video and also subscribe if you are new to stay up to date on all content with Ghost Recon moving forward. The grind for 40,000 subscribers is on, guys. We're less than 5,000 subscribers away. So like I said, if you guys are enjoying the content, make sure to subscribe and turn on post notifications so you guys do not miss any of my videos. But that is all for now. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will catch you guys later. Peace out.